everyone, Taro the Artist here, and welcome back to another Ben 10 breakdown. Aside from Kevin's backstory and the quality of the reboot, nothing gets Ben 10 fans more divided than their opinions on Anodites versus magic. Even the Ben 10 crew themselves couldn't come to a full agreement on which direction is better. Gwen developing powers was a big turning point for her character, whether her powers really do come from magic or from an alien race of energy beings. A common complaint about Alien Force is it started making everything alien. And while I do agree that's a fact, I don't agree that it's exactly a problem. The show is about aliens. Why wouldn't everything tie into aliens? It's like watching Harry Potter and being like, there's way too much magic in here. We gotta start throwing in some mech suits. Back to the Future has way too much time travel. Let's also give Doc Brown superpowers. Danny Phantom has way too many ghosts. Let's just... Actually, we all know where that went, so never mind. But I think we get this starvation for diverse mythological elements because the classic series seemed like an all-encompassing show. But that wasn't exactly true either. Remember the pop-up facts about the Yeti? Or perhaps the charms of Bazel? At least from those, nothing was ever supposed to be what it seemed from the start. Now just to be clear, personally, I do prefer magic over Anodites. I'm not trying to say the hell with magic, let's just accept the fact that Anodites are here. But at the same time, I really wouldn't care if they actually went through with retconning magic for the entire rest of the series, because Anodites are pretty neat too. But I'm glad that starting in season 3 forward, it turns out that they coexist, and Gwen is an Anodite that uses magic, much to the primary sorcerer's dismay. Now let's take a look at the episode that started this long train of controversy. But I do want to warn you, I was recording this last week. The first half of the actual breakdown footage did get corrupted, and while I did find a program that restored it, there is some footage that is a little shaky and jittery at times. It's not all of the footage, I promise you, but it's there, it's definitely noticeable, and I'm sorry if it does bother you. I'm currently waiting on my new computer to come in, so hopefully this won't be a problem anymore. Should be popping in any day now. Anyways, let's jump in. Matt Wayne returns to write What Are Little Girls Made Of, which first premiered June 7th, 2008. While coping with the loss of Grandpa Max, the trio encounter a mysterious woman at one of Max's old fishing spots, which turns out to be Ben and Gwen's superpowered alien grandmother, Verdona. Once all the confusion's out of the way, Verdona offers Gwen to come back to her home planet of Anodyne and train with her for decades to master her power. However, this choice would come with leaving her family behind and destroying her mortal body. Quite a big offer with quite a big risk. Let's see how Gwen handles this. Sad Gwen. Gotta have the swimsuit episode, it's kinda mandatory.
Your nigh gladiatorial bellicosity has once again outpaced your...
I'm still on the fence of whether I find Brainstorm's like superior intellectual vocabulary charming or just like kinda overdone. Sometimes I feel like it's like, alright buddy, relax, but other times it's funny. The way Omniverse handles Brainstorm is pretty much my favorite Brainstorm, where he's just very calculated and methodical in his thoughts.
Potentially useful object momentarily neutralizing. Dodge, low voltage electrokinetic strike. Estimated recovery time 20 minutes.
Rather than just like, you know, vomiting the dictionary on you. You know, water conducts electricity. I'm surprised that didn't electrocute Kevin. Wow, his face is drawn pretty tiny right here. His brain flaps appear to be much larger than they would be if they actually wrap onto his head. Perhaps they expand when they unfold, similar to Big Chill's wings, or at least his hood. There's no way that Big Chill's hood looks like it does when it's unfolded without some type of stretching involved.
I wasn't even thinking hard.
I like that Ben still has like an athletic build, but he's also pretty scrawny. You know, you don't do what he does without building a few muscles, but he's still like, you know, a 15-year-old who doesn't regularly work out. He gets all of his like muscle strength from being on missions.
She misses Grandpa.
This is Grandpa Max's secret fishing rod. Guess I never had an easy time letting go.
So Gwen started out in the series being pretty okay with Max's disappearance. Ben was the one who was very emotionally affected by it. And as the series goes on, Ben starts to toughen up and letting his independence cope with the fact that Max, in their perspective, is dead right now, mind you. And now Gwen's the one having a hard time with his absence. Losing family members, it's not easy.
Look over there.
I was just thinking to myself, why does this background look so strange to me? Because it's like, it's fine. It's because it's the daytime. You don't see daylight a lot in early Alien Force, so every time I see it, it catches my eye.
This gets a lot.
I love this flower design. Definitely looks like a magic flower.
Hey, you in the cloak.
Just want to say, this is like an 8 to 10 foot drop, and they're all casually jumping onto rock barefoot. Gotta have some tough heels. And she's gone. That could be it. Like, what if that was the episode? She just never comes back.
Max plus Verdona.
Now, normally I'm an advocate for shadows like this, but like when it literally covers the whole thing, they couldn't like just shifted it over to the right a bit.
Who's Verdona?
Also crazy how they don't know the name of their own grandmother. Like, I get Max was secretive, but he never even bothered to tell them her name. And all of a sudden there's a bunch more.
We can't just wait for her to come back.
And so...
She didn't show yesterday, and she's not gonna show tonight.
Wow, they're really waiting this out. They don't want to set up a camera or something? Well, I mean, I guess if they catch her on camera, that's not really gonna do anything. They are gonna want to be there for it, but yeah, stakeouts can be a drag. Probably wasn't intentional, but Ben did fidget a lot in the classic series, so it's pretty consistent to see it come back. Now he's just fucking with him. Kevin spends a fair amount of time messing with Ben, so I guess he's due for some revenge. Usually Gwen's the one in front, and Ben has to sit in the back seat. I guess now we know why.
I have to find a bathroom.
Lots of trees
There's a
around.
gas station a couple miles back.
You're gonna walk a couple miles back to a gas station instead of just going in the woods? Like, come on, Gwen. When you weigh your options, going in the woods, is it really that bad?
I'll drive you.
Keep watch. I'll be right back.
You're not gonna be right back if it's gonna take you miles to get there, and that's just one direction. Kevin could drive her and leave Ben to stand guard. Or, you know, she could just go in the woods. And it's back.
Look!
And of course, right when Gwen leaves. So she doesn't bend down, all she does is lift her hands, and then we see the... I almost said star. The plant manifest here. So I wonder if she's just like recharging the ones that are already there or bringing a fresh one every time.
What rotten kids.
So Verdona here is voiced by Barbara Bain. I don't know if there's any Mission Impossible fans out there, but she was like a character named Cinnamon Carter from 1966 to 1969.
Go away.
Boom. Man, I can say from experience, animating cloth like this can be very frustrating, but Verdona looks freaking badass right here. She's even got the rocks flying up as she charges her Saiyan power. So it looks like this is some form of an air manipulation spell. Oh, I'm sorry, not spell. You know, this is Alien Force Season 1. But Gwen has had a lot of experience manipulating air, at least in the classic series, so if that counts for anything, she could probably do this. Maybe this is how she expects to get to the gas station fast. Speaking of, Verdona showed up the second Gwen left, so is she not seeing any of this? We get Ben activating the Omnitrix by twisting the dial again. Wow, hologram's facing the wrong way. What a surprise. Though it seems super tiny. It's like the size of his finger, pretty much. Like if you picture like a hologram coming out, usually it's like a good, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches. This is like maybe 3. Gotta find something to absorb. Oh, is this the first time he's absorbed his car? They're adding the drop shadow effect to make the metal coating his skin seem a lot thicker. They haven't used this effect for a while. Surprised they're bringing it back. I also think this is the same music that they used for Jet Ray versus Alan and Everybody Talks About the Weather. Maybe this is like Jet Ray's theme? Although I do think this is supposed to be colored red since this is the back of his flaps.
I haven't had a good chase in ages.
And given that she probably lives for thousands of years, how long do you think ages means to her? Ugh, this shot looks so freaking good. Ooh, that was awesome. They did market Jet Ray moving at supersonic speeds throughout the first promotions of Alien Force, so it's nice to see it make it into the cartoon. And justifies that other controversial scene in Ultimate Alien where Jet Ray is able to go into like a warp drive, but we'll get to that. See, Jet Ray's always been insanely fast. Now this is a thick neuroshock blast. I don't think we've seen it cone this much before. Like that blast is thicker than the width of Verdona by the time it gets here. How do you think Jet Ray is able to float without moving? Ooh, that looks different. When Gwen's eyes glow, there's usually a white gradient in the center, and the edges are a soft pink. Whereas with Verdona, they're straight up pink. That's probably just an animation thing, though. I don't know why, but I remember this shot very fondly when I think about this episode, but I just realized I actually have no idea what's happening. So Jet Ray isn't firing at her. Verdona does some mana thing. Then Jet Ray's tail starts to shoot a neuroshock blast. So maybe Jet Ray shot first, and she was so fast she immediately countered it. But just from watching this at regular speed, it looks like she's forcing him to do this somehow. Nice catch, Kevin.
This little world would be a lot more tolerable without troublemaking imps like you.
Is she gonna kill them? Verdona looks freaking crazy. She was like ready to see some blood. At least it's implied. Like the phrasing really makes it seem like she wanted to kill them. And Gwen's shield was able to counter that. So if Gwen can counter a lethal blow from Verdona, that's pretty powerful. And her shield didn't even break. Gwen manually disengages it.
Can't I leave you guys alone for 2 minutes?
Since she's been missing from the battle, does this imply she really did walk all the way to that gas station and then come back?
Do that again.
Love how the shadows follow the light of her mana blast. This whole shot looks really good too. I'm loving the animation in this one.
Max was your grandfather.
Kiddo!
Can you project energy like your sister?
I kind of feel like this line was thrown in to nod at people constantly mistaking Gwen for Ben's sister and not his cousin. Even some early promotional material said Gwen was Ben's sister. It's like, just watch the show.
And no.
Shame.
So you're worthless.
We'll talk again soon.
Oh yeah, Verdona's eyes don't have a whiter glow in the center. I guess that's just how she looks. Time to teleport. Gwen lives in a really nice house. I also get that it's nighttime, but I do wish it was a little bit brighter up on top. It's Gwen's pappy. Always neat when we get to see more of the Tennyson family. Also like this, like do the shadows really need to be this strong in Gwen's room? There's even a lamp right here. We could have it a little bit brighter.
I've been keeping a big secret from you.
Frank's outfit also vaguely resembles Gwen's outfit in Ultimate Alien, which we later find out is her school's uniform. Would you look at that? Lucky Girl's mask. Also, I get that they'd want a book that says magic to help visibly sell the scene, but like, it also would have been nice to see Charmcaster's book in here too. Although this thing right here sort of looks like a charm of Bazel. Maybe you're able to enchant other artifacts and talismans to act as a conduit for the magic of Bazel.
There's no such thing.
So this is subtle, but when Gwen's magic turns on, it doesn't just change the lighting like it usually does. This is actually a completely different drawing. You can tell when you look at the ears and the eyes that it fades between. Also, this should definitely be lighting up her room a lot more. I'm just saying.
That's a big secret.
Who is Frank voiced by? George Newbern. Oh wow, he's Superman in a lot of the DCAU. He's actually in quite a bit of things that I've seen when I look at his Wikipedia page. He's also that Sephiroth character from Final Fantasy that people say Divinity sort of looks like. I'm 100% pronouncing that wrong, but I've never played Final Fantasy, so. Wait a second, I'm sorry to go down this rabbit hole, but it's listing other characters that have also voiced long-haired big shoulder dude. And Tyler Hoechlin is on there, who is the current Superman in the CW. So 2 people who have voiced Longsword Buckle Bandit have also voiced Superman. That's pretty cool.
But you never showed any signs of having powers.
Small appreciation that Frank and Natalie are wearing different outfits in this photo. This is also more proof that the UAF style is more than capable of using the classic series as models, so what the fuck is this? And yes, Ben's Omnitrix is on the wrong wrist. I see it. It bothers us all.
Your grandma's an alien.
She's like, oh shit, Kevin was right.
Humans with alien ancestors are actually pretty common.
I get my powers from magic talismans and books.
Yeah, right.
I know you're out there.
Probably sense their mana. Also, how'd they even get up there? Did they climb from the outside, or did they enter Gwen's room before her, sit out on the roof, and then just wait? I guess Ben could have flown them up there too.
How do you do, sir?
It's gotta be really awkward for Kevin to be seeing Gwen's parents.
Grandma, who I never knew.
But for real though, she didn't know the name? No photos of her existed? Like, I'm having a hard time believing that. Come to think of it, I don't even think I know what my grandmother looks like. Oh my god, I'm a hypocrite.
These aren't the only ones who sneak around.
You always could tell when I was watching, baby.
And Natalie Tennyson. She is voiced by Juliette Landau? I'm really bad with names. Who also voices Helen Wheels, who appears later on. She also looks like the embodiment of stress. I feel that. I guess I'm a Natalie.
What a surprise.
I also just love Gwen's mom as a character. She seems to be the only one who's like not on board with any of this alien bullshit, and it's like, it's nice to have a character who can add some contrast to the opinions. Her hairstyle also vaguely resembles classic Gwen's hair, which is a nice touch. So is that some type of matter manipulation spell where she fuses the cup back together, or is that a time manipulation spell where she just reverses the act of the cup breaking? And yes, I know they're not spells.
Tea, dear.
Yeah, get to work, Natalie.
Been a while, Mom.
In human time.
There you go. See, her time perception is different because of her age. So when she says something like, I haven't had a good chase in ages, she probably means like literal ages.
Your grandmother is an Anodite.
And half the fandom screams.
I needed to reconnect with my Anodite heritage.
I love the double rings of Planet Anodyne. We did a similar look for our version of Planet Vegeta in And Beyond, but these big wide rings look really cool. Also, whatever this planet is, it might be the perspective, but it looks much larger than Anodyne itself.
And Max was busy saving the universe.
This vaguely resembles the young Max design that they're gonna show for the flashback. Although it would have been neat if Phil was in here too.
Dad thought you didn't know about that.
Wait, what? Is Frank saying that Max thought Verdona didn't know about his role as a plumber? There's so much about that wouldn't make sense.
Yes, he didn't want me to worry.
Or maybe he's saying that when Verdona left to go back to Anodyne, Max wanted Verdona to think he was retired, but then kept being a plumber. Who knows?
What's mana?
Wow, that's just straight up manifestation. Unless she teleported that from somewhere, and she just has like a keepsake of mouth rags somewhere, just in case she wants to do this magic trick. I love that they show Max fishing, because they mentioned Max's fishing hole earlier this episode.
Your grandpa's fate was big news. It even reached my planet.
So Max dying was like a galaxy-wide deal. That's pretty hardcore.
Let me teach you to master life energy.
Oh, now her eyes are in line with how Gwen's look.
Come home with me.
Leave? This is too huge.
Oh, Gwen. I love how Kevin doesn't even hesitate to go after her. Back on the roof. I guess it's just easy as hell to get up here.
Some of us can't fly, you know.
You got on the roof last time.
I'd be gone for a long time, I guess.
We've been recruiting more and more plumber kids, so we'd still have a pretty powerful team.
Well, let's see. You recruited Alan, and that's it. Michael was evil. Ken has no powers and has never shown up again. Julie, I guess counts. So yeah, you know, there's Julie. But Ben, you're really slacking on making this team. Also, his 10 is done in a different font than it normally is.
Whether to use my powers again, you told me it was my choice.
I have to skip so much of this conversation because, you know, copyright, but I really love how this scene is playing out, and it sucks I can't talk about it in detail. But rather than trying to overcompensate why I like this scene so much, I just want to ask y'all, what would you do if you were in Gwen's position? Would you leave everything behind for decades to master becoming an Anodite, or would you stay on Earth and keep living your life? Now, as we see with Gwen all the way to Omniverse, it's not like you can't just learn on your own. You don't need to go to planet Anodyne, but you would absolutely have much better training, become so much more powerful, and see things that you wouldn't even be able to explain. Just traveling to Anodyne its own, you know, going into space on another planet alone is quite the journey, but then like living amongst all of these crazy cosmic beings, it's nuts. Let me know in the comments what you all would do.
You were supposed to be the key to all this. You were supposed to lead us! You were supposed to save us all!
Hey folks, just wanted to remind you that Chapter 11 and the first motion comic scene dub are both now available online. You can check out the chapter down on my website, and you can watch the motion comic dub right here on this channel. A lot of great talent and a lot of hard work went into it, so I'd really appreciate your feedback and if you gave it a share. And you could join us for a public Q&A session today at 6 p.m. EST over on our second channel, The Rust Bucket, also linked below. And if you're a patron, you could join us for a page-by-page breakdown shortly after at 7:30 p.m. EST. Both streams will remain on the Rust Bucket for rewatchability. I hope to see you there. Back to the breakdown.
I want you around. The whole thing's lame.
Oh, Kevin.
Shag carpeting.
Shag carpeting, yes. Another classic series throwback. Despite what can be considered a major retcon, this episode does tie into the classic series pretty well.
I even came back when the grandkids were born, just in case your baby had the spark, but nothing doing.
You know, I think they're talking about Ken, because I'm pretty sure Verdona would be able to notice Gwen's spark when she was born. So it sounds to me like she showed up when Ken was born, saw that he was just a normal human, and then left, and probably didn't even know about Gwen to begin with.
I want to stay here with my...
So whatever filter they got for this disco ball, they have it affecting the color of Verdona's mana too. And I gotta say, I'm not a big fan.
We belong on Anodyne. Let me show you.
Oh my god. You know something? I totally forgot she can even do this.
Just a disguise.
So now that she's a full Anodite, Verdona is also voiced by Juliet. And as a fun piece of trivia, Juliet is actually the daughter of Barbara. So both mother and daughter voice Verdona in her two forms.
So that's why she looks so good.
Cosmic powers, baby.
We draw life.
I love that echoey filter on her voice. She sounds so cool.
You gotta admit, that's kinda cool.
That's what I just said, Ben. We're on the same page here.
I'll destroy your body and free the Anodite inside.
Okay, earlier when I was asking y'all if you wanted to do the whole cosmic journey thing, I forgot that that was part of the deal. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tack that on. If you already commented, go ahead and edit your comment. It's cool. But yeah, if you do the cosmic journey thing, your mortal body gets destroyed. So good luck to that. I always like seeing when they come back between shots if they end up reusing the same animation frames or if they redraw it. And alas, between commercial breaks, it was a redraw.
Destroy my body?
So since Verdona says mature Anodites are pure energy, I like to imagine that all Anodites just look like this because they don't need distinct physical forms. And there's no such thing as male and female Anodites. This is just the avatar representation that people perceive for Anodites. And let me be clear, this is 110% headcanon. That's how I like to interpret it, you know? When we think genderless forms, usually it is the male figure, so like, why can't a genderless form be represented by a female figure? Because things like gender and physical differences don't really matter when you're as cosmically empowered as an Anodite. Oh my goodness. Obviously she didn't, but the way this shot is framed, it looks like she vaporized them. Gwen couldn't have teleported them. She doesn't know how to do that yet, right? Did she? No, it looks like we're supposed to be looking into this crater now. And this is like the sewer, you know, maybe if it wasn't so friggin' dark. Yeah, okay, yeah, they were just in the crater. Although, you know, credit where credit's due, these houses in the background look pretty fantastic. See that? Stone hurts invulnerable dragons and cosmically empowered beings. Stone's the way to go. So Ben's dial is already popped up, he just twists it this time. Although look at that, not only is the hologram facing the right way, it was customly drawn too and not just reused model sheet. Props to you, hologram artist.
Spider monkey!
That was really cool. Now this is really neat. I love when characters combine their powers, but is this really more effective than Gwen just shooting them at her? Love seeing Gwen do some martial arts. Whoa, holy. Verdona's attack was so powerful, it blasted me into the future. That's crazy, right? I mean, it's not like my computer crashed when I was recording this last week and I had to delay this video or anything, and now I have to continue recording where I picked up as if nothing happened.
Spider monkey's got it covered.
You know, I always thought it was Omniverse that started adding little monkey vocalizations in between Spider Monkey's dialogue, but he's doing it right here. Although I don't remember it too much after this. Like, does he eventually stop doing it and they bring it back, or did I just forget he always does it? Yeah, see, this is way too dark. I can barely tell he's even holding a rock. She looks so sad. I feel like she's definitely messing with him though. Like, she can get out of this so easy.
Dude, I don't know if I can pound your grandma.
There. I left it in the video. Are y'all happy? Do you think that's funny? Are you amused? We all heard it. We all heard it. Let's roll it back one more time. Let's go.
Dude, I don't know if I can pound your grandma.
Oh my god, that is so funny. All right, now I feel like I'm being too harsh. Like, it's funny, I get it. But man, like, do we really need to keep posting it everywhere? Am I the only one who keeps seeing people do this? Yeah, see, they didn't have anything on her. This is like that scene with Hana and Katara from Avatar.
Drawing mana for millions of living things around her.
But not them, surprisingly. Another example of her holding back. Ties him up with his own rope. The disrespect.
You'll learn to make a new body, any kind you like.
So you're saying Gwen can be slimy, freaky, fast, strong, like any shape and size?
I love having powers, but I like my life better.
With Ben taking off the Omnitrix, I guess it kind of runs in the family.
After you've mastered them 60 or 70 years.
I never noticed how the background's wiggling the whole time. Like Verdona's connected with all of the present mana, even if she's not sucking it in.
All those good times you had with Grandpa?
Grandpa Max.
Grown-up parties are so much better.
She's right.
He was a lot like your little friend,
You know, they make a lot of parallels between young Max and Kevin in this show. I'm gonna try to be shouting them out as I go through these breakdowns.
You're an energy being. I'm a girl.
Boom, energy beings are genderless confirmed.
I'm not going with you, Grandma.
This whole scene is animated so nicely too. It's very gentle. Like, you can really feel the rhythm of everything. Frank smiles because his daughter gets to stay. Natalie smiles because that means Verdona's leaving.
it's been...
You know, if I were her, I'd at least go for like a year. You could probably learn a lot in a year. That's not that bad. Does she have to commit to the entire decades-long training, or can she just go pick up a few things and come back?
Way to stick up for your cousin.
Aw, see, now she's acting like a grandmother to both of them and not just favoring Gwen. I really wish we saw more of Verdona.
Grandma's going to drop in now and again to see how you're doing.
Yeah, sure. I was expecting a little twinkle. That's a full-on eruption.
I know where this goes.
Oh, even her parents are there. They're all mourning Max. Well, not really mourning, but respecting him. Keeping his memory alive. You know, this episode was better than I thought it was at the beginning. We're at a point where there's enough Alien Force episodes where you can start planning on what to expect from the series now. And while this one definitely started off that way, I feel like it ended on a note that had its own little unique element to it. I'll start off by giving the plot a 3. This was like a Gwen story without it being a completely Gwen-centered episode. And I like that they're able to focus on Gwen without having to sideline Ben and Kevin. Not that it's always mandatory for them to have the spotlight, but when they're able to make it work and keep the trio a strong center point, but still find ways to give each character a moment to shine, those are the kind of stories I like the most. It's getting a 3 like other Alien Force episodes just because the plot isn't exactly spectacular, but it was done very well. I don't feel like the whole magic retcon is that big of a deal because when you think about it, it's only the Tennyson family and Kevin, like Gwen, Gwen's dad, and Kevin that actually say magic's not real. And then they're completely disproven in the 3rd season when Charmcaster returns. I do know that in the grander outer context, like during the development of the show, they were trying to retcon magic into just being derivatives of energy manipulation or Anodites and all of that. But in the context of the story, nothing actually changed. It's just Gwen and Kevin were wrong for a couple of seasons, and that's it. It's not like all of magic was wiped from Ben 10's existence from this episode. Gwen just stopped believing in magic for a little bit so she could focus on developing her Anodite abilities. Characterization, I'm gonna give it a 5. I like that we really got to see the struggle of Gwen debating which path she wants to take, and her speech at the end is just a very touching human moment. It's not overdone. It wasn't like as overplayed as some of the other drama in this series, but it gives you enough to understand Gwen's perspective perspective. We got to see all the other characters and how they'd react to the situation as well. And I feel like taking a second to really let the news that just got dropped on the trio breathe and allow these characters to work through what everything means from now on was the best direction to go. Visuals, I'm gonna give it a 4. Seeing all of Verdona's powers and abilities was really cool. The fight at the beginning was pretty interesting, but unfortunately, this is one of the episodes where the dark backgrounds and filters do actually take a toll on the episode. It makes a lot of the action unreadable, but the animation was great, all the CG effects blended in well, and just a small little note, I like the flower that they drew. Importance, it's a 5. I kind of didn't want to give this a 5, but I really thought about it, and this is one of the big pivotal moments where they're sort of changing an entire lore point in the series. So even though it's pretty much just this one fact that Anodites exist now, it does change Gwen's entire perspective on her abilities for a bit and how she chooses to use them. And Verdona does come back at least one more time, but then there's other characters like Sunny. Gwen is referenced as an Anodite many times. Oh yeah, not to mention that huge dramatic scene in the finale where Gwen basically unleashes her Anodite powers for a little bit. And entertaining, I'll give it a 3. It's a very passable episode. It's not super rewatchable unless you're into these kind of stories. It's a nice little adventure and it's a very character-focused episode, but I think it holds up a little bit more than some of the other ones. That leaves this episode off at a 20 out of 25. Let's move on to those final thoughts. So I figured since this is the Anodite episode, I might as well mention the fact that it's a kind of common known fact by now that Ben can't scan an Anodite and transform into one because Anodites supposedly don't have DNA. And whether or not you buy that explanation, I kind of don't. That's what the show's going with, so we're never going to see Ben turn into an Anodite. Although if he did, I still stand by the fact that Anodites are genderless. So yes, if Ben became one, he would still look like this. But if you somehow think that's weird, yet you're totally fine with him turning into a goddamn dinosaur, then I don't know what to tell you. Also, I just found this McDuffie screenshot. It looks like he's talking about how even if the characters believe something, that doesn't exactly make it true. And this is before season 3 even aired. So perhaps it was the plan all along that magic was never truly retconned? Who knows? Anyways, that's it for me. Please make sure you catch the 5YL Chapter 11 live streams if you're around, or rewatch the streams if you miss them. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And as always, keep it fizzy.